Hey, what's up guys? It's Scion Life back here with another video, and today we are going to be talking about 5 budget supercars. Now, in this video, I'm not going to discuss cars like the Gallardo, the 360, and the Maserati that's in every single video like this, and it's simply because it is in every video. All 3 of those cars are in every single video like this, so I'm going to try to stay away from those, and I'm going to try to give you guys a more diverse and unique video with different cars that you probably heard of but wouldn't automatically think of. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, coming in with the first car on this list, we have the Ferrari 348. Now, this is a mid-engine V8 powered two-seat supercar produced by, obviously, Ferrari, and this car succeeded the 328 in 1989 and was preceded by the F355 in 1995. And this was the final V8 Ferrari model that was developed under the direction of Enzo Ferrari himself. And I mean, love or hate this car, the styling, the power numbers it produced. You know, it's pretty cool. This was the last car that Enzo Ferrari was really over and created himself. And so I think that's, pretty cool, and it's pretty worthy to be on this list just because of that alone. Now, with this 348, you get a 3.4 liter Typo F119 V8 that made 296 horsepower at the red line of 7,200 RPMs. Now, this car did weigh 3,300 pounds, and most of that was due to the styling at the time. Obviously, in the late 80s, early 90s, you had the really aggressive side streaks, the really super wedge design, and I mean, all sports and supercars at the time were like that. And so it kind of fit in at the time. But today, some people may say it's a little outdated in the way it looks, and especially the interior. But personally, I love the styling of the car, and today you can pick one of these up with a 5-speed manual for around $60,000 to $70,000. Now, if I don't know about you guys, but getting a Ferrari for 60 to 70 grand sounds like a pretty good deal to me. And with the second car on this list, we have the Jaguar F-Type S, which is the base model Jaguar F-Type, and it comes with a 3-liter supercharged V6, putting down 380 horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque. Now, this is a bit of a bump from the Ferrari that I mentioned, first in this video. But the reason that this one's on the video is because not only is it a supercar in the way that it looks, it's styling, and you don't see a lot of them on the road, they're very rare, but it's also on this list because of how practical it is. It is a great daily driver, and you can get this car in an 8-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual, both of which are great for daily driving. Maybe the automatic a bit more for traffic, and the 6-speed manual a bit more for having fun, but you can option it in either of those transmissions depending on how you want to drive it. Now, another perk of this car and, it being a great daily driver is that it gets good mile per gallon for a supercar. It gets 19 in the city and 27 on the highway. Now, this is good if you're commuting it to work, every day. And, it's just good to have that extra gas mileage in there so that you're not spending supercar amounts of prices on gas every month. And you can kind of save a little bit while still being in a very cool and very fast car. Now, the cool thing about this car that separates it from the other 4 on this list, is that this car new is only $61,000. But if you do want to pick up a used one, you can find them for around $40,000. And, that's pretty good depreciation considering the fact they just came out a few years ago. And even if you do want to buy a new one, I still feel like that is a great deal for what you get. Now, of course, it's not the F-Type R with the V8 or the SVR with the supercharged V8, but it does come, the engine is reliable, it's good, it makes a lot of power, as I said, and it's still supercharged, so you can tune it to get that really cool whine. And the next car on this list is not really going to be a surprise to most of you guys, and it's going to be the 2009 to 2011 Nissan GTRs. Now, this car comes with a 3.8 liter twin turbo V6, putting down 480 horsepower which is the most powerful car on this list. And with this car, you also get a great transmission. It's a 6-speed automatic. And the cool thing about these cars is that you can drive them every day if you want to, but if you want to build the car, they can also be roll monsters, they can be drag monsters, and they are also very highly noticed no matter how you choose to, tune it and build it. And you can pick these up for around 60 to 70 grand, which is a great price for almost 500 horsepower in a car. And for the fourth car on this list, we have the Audi R8 4.2, and we're going to be talking about the 2008 to 2012 models. Now, these cars put down 420 horsepower from a 4.2 liter V8. Now, the reason I'm not going to discuss the V10s is simply because they're priced way higher than the V8 models, and they both look the same. The V8 is still a supercar, of course. But the cool thing about the V8 is you could get it option with the 6-speed automatic, which I do not recommend because the automatic transmissions for these cars were pretty crappy, and you can get it in a 6-speed manual, which is the far superior transmission for this car, and it's going to be a lot more fun to drive. Now, I like to call this car the Classy Man's Lamborghini, and it's simply because the styling is very classy, very gentlemanlike, and it's not nearly as flashy while still producing the same numbers as a Lamborghini. And this car, of course, as you guys have probably heard from different vloggers and YouTubers and articles, this car is by far the best daily on this list. It has a lot of space, a lot of comfort features because it is an Audi, and it's going to be very reliable simply because the engine, it's just a good engine. It's very reliable. You'll have very little problems out of it. And the cool thing is about this car is that you can pick them up for around 70 to 80 grand. And most of these cars on this list are a bit elevated, and you'll definitely see it with the next one as well. But that's simply because of the time I'm making this video. The used car market is kind of, it's the bubble has been blown up a lot, and eventually it will pop, and these will drop back down to, this 50, 60 grand range where they probably should be. But for 70 to 80 grand, you're still getting a 420 horsepower R8 Audi with a beautiful V8 engine, and so I think that that's a pretty good deal. And coming in for the fifth and final car on this list, it may be a little bit controversial, but hear me out. It's going to be the Alfa Romeo 4C. And the main reason that this car would be controversial is because, someone might say, well, it only comes with a 1.7 liter 4-cylinder engine. And while that is true, it is a turbo 4-cylinder engine. It can be tuned to make a lot more power, but you don't buy this car for the power. Now, one reason it is a supercar is because of the excellent handling that this car has. It has absolute beautiful handling in canyons, on the track, and on the toge. And, it's just a really cool car to own, especially if you're going to drive it on a lot of back roads and curvy roads like that. Not just that, but this car is also very flashy and has very beautiful styling, along with the fact that, it's rare. You don't see a lot of them. They didn't build a lot of them. That's kind of why I do believe it is a supercar. And in that sense, it's kind of like a Lotus, great handling. They didn't build a lot of them. They're rare. They may not make a lot of power, but to me, Lotus and this Alfa Romeo 4C are both supercars. Now, with this car, you're going to get a 237 horsepower turbo 4-cylinder, like I already mentioned, but it's only going to weigh 2,400 pounds. And these cars, brand new, they came in at around 60 to 70,000 with options, but now you can pick one up for around 50 grand. And that may not seem like a huge depreciation, but you also have to think about the bubble that's being built up right now and how whenever it pops, these prices will plummet. And I believe that this car will be somewhere in the 35 to 40 grand range in the future. But another plus for this car is the miles per gallon that it gets. It gets 24 in the city and 34 on the highway, and that's something you just can't get with a V8 or a V6 like the cars that were presented earlier on this list. And it's great. I wouldn't really call it a great daily driver, but it is great on gas, along with getting an absolute beautiful car. And that's going to complete our list. And I understand that these cars are still very expensive. The lowest one was like 50 grand for the 4C, and it got up to around 70, 80 grand, I think, for the R8. But in my opinion, these are still great supercar bargains because for that price, you can get something like a Toyota Supra or a Mustang GT, and it's not going to garner any of the attention or the performance that these five cars will give you. And so, leaving it off on that note, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like, and if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing and following along for more content like this. But for now, this is Scion Life signing out.